Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the bay.
This is South Jamaica, Queens, a working-class community nestled between New York City's Kennedy and LaGuardia airports. There are places like it all over America. Just down the road from Archie Bunker's all-in-the-family neighborhood, South Jamaica drew middle-income blacks looking for a better life. Most people here have jobs, pay taxes, and own their homes, on blocks made for kids and bikes on summer afternoons. But to live in South Jamaica is to see another side of America.
Google him. John, first name is John.
Uh-huh.
Middle name Pop.
Uh-huh.
Last name Freeman.
Freeman. And you said he had the business he had was a few blocks from your house.
Yeah, a few blocks from my house, my mom's crib. He don't want to put Ronnie Bump on.
Ah.
So I tell you who he is. He don't want to put Ronnie Bump on. And Ronnie Bump tell him to put Fat Cat on. Fat Cat put Preem on, then Preem put me on.
Wow.
You feel me? He went all the way down. So these dudes, I have a relationship with all these guys.
Yeah.
All of them had a relationship. The Bump was taking to my game and make sure I'm like to give me drugs, sell drugs, none of that. Bump used to take care of me, you feel me? Take me to my games, and you know, I told him, you feel who that? Fly car, that's my pops, I was mine.
Yeah.
I didn't have a father, you know what I'm saying? I really bought my father.
On almost any corner, you can find business going on. Here's something changing hands. And here. And here in broad daylight, the boy goes to a hiding place, gets out his merchandise, hands something over to this man. And again here. And the teenage businessman counts a roll of bills. In South Jamaica, you don't have to be an adult to work in the drug trade. This corner market is right next to a school.
I'm afraid now. I always believed if I got off the LST in Normandy that I would survive. But here, you don't even know if you go out your door, you might get shot.
Aaron Dozier lives down the block from the schoolyard drug market. He's a World War II veteran and a retired postal worker. Officer Byrne was killed right near here.
Yeah, about 4 blocks from here.
And what happened after that?
They set up a headquarters in the house that he was supposed to be guarding, and all the dope pushers moved over to this side of the street.
They just lifted up their...
Took up their equipment and walked right over here.
They must not be very...
out of school.
Have they harassed the kids on the block?
Sometimes, yes.
Try to hustle the drugs to them?
Try to make the kids either be lookout for the police or have the kids selling it for them, actually. Because the kid can't get any time. So what can he do? They have a kid make the deliveries.
Every time you hear this, what do you think? You've been in combat zones before. Do you ever think this is a combat zone too?
Yep. All night you can hear pistol shots, sirens.
There was a nurse shot not far from here.
My wife's, she worked with her. For 18 years, my wife worked with that nurse.
With the nurse who was killed? She was shot in a line of fire.
Yeah.
Yo, we back. The Shades Popalot. Mob, gang. We headed to the city. Queen shit. Meet us on the south side. Now, we digging at the roots at how Queens would get the moniker Cop Killer Queens. And a lot of that started with the person that we're covering today in the late 70s and early 80s. And the guy that we're going to be covering is a gentleman by the name of Ronald Bumps Basett. Now, even though he was immortalized on songs by 50 Cent, The Ghetto Quran, and 50 bars of pleasure, 50 bars of pain. He is not as well known as some of his predecessors, who would be guys like Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols or Kenneth Supreme McGriff, for that matter. But what people close to the streets know is there would probably be no Fat Cat or no Supreme McGriff if it wasn't for Bumps. Now, I'm not exactly quite sure on when or how Bumps Basett would get into the game, but we do know that it was under the tutelage of John Pop Freeman. But it is noted that when Pops Freeman would go on to retire in the late 70s, he would hand over his operation or his connection that he had established with the mafia right over to Ron Bumps Basett. But the thing we would go on to learn about Ron Bumps Basett is he didn't even really need that connection that was handed down to him. And he saw a new direction in the game. And he is probably single-handedly the one person that impacted it or changed it the most, almost taking it from a mom and pop situation to a Walmart situation. Now, based on the information that I've done on the south side of Queens and John Pop Freeman, as well as Ronald Bumps Basett, according to a lot of sources, it would be him that would be the person that would cut ties with the mafia and establish his own connection with Colombian suppliers. And just based on that sole ambition, that would go on to make Pops Basett a legend in the game and essentially get him a better price on the product, as well as put on other people, essentially setting up workers. And it would be one of his workers that would go on to become one of the biggest names in the game and the biggest supplier in the borough of Queens and possibly the city of New York, Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols. It was said that Pops Bumps Basett would create a distribution network that would stretch up and down the East Coast. And it would be a federal indictment out of Baltimore that would essentially lead to him handing over the connection as well as the south side of Queens to Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols, just as John Pop Freeman had done with him years earlier. Now, it's not exactly quite sure how much time he would end up serving on that federal indictment out of Baltimore. Now, Bumps Basett is somebody that I would consider a lifer of the game, would find himself in some more trouble in December of 2009 when he would be caught on DEA wiretaps. Now, not exactly quite sure why his phone was tapped, but I would have to think it has something to do with his history. But the government would say that law enforcement would reveal that he was distributing large amounts of heroin. Now, approximately 20 people will be charged for their roles in that heroin distribution conspiracy. And authorities will go on to seize 7 kilograms of heroin, as well as almost $500,000 in cash. And for his role in the heroin distribution conspiracy, Bumps Basett would end up being sentenced to 210 months in federal prison and was ordered to pay $17,500, which was essentially $1,000 for every year that he was convicted of, which would be 17 and a half years. Now, we all know what Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols would go on to do with that connection that was handed over to him from Bumps Basett. And me, myself, I question, could it have been possible had it not been for Ronald Bumps Basett? Y'all definitely get in the comments and let me know y'all take on the situation. Y'all know what it is with me. It's your boy Popalot. Y'all make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, POP_A_LOT. Y'all make sure y'all hit the red subscribe right under this video so y'all know how we coming. And I'm going to be back with some more real trill spill shit. Y'all get in the comment box flooded. Let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to cover, what gangsters we miss. All of that. Shit got Popalot. Mob gang.